I think it's safe to say that at any time in our life where each of us is dealing with some sort of a problem or a challenge in our lives. And one thing that I've really come to understand is it's not necessarily the vastness of the problem that we have to deal with, it's the way that we deal with it. And so the question that you may want to be asking yourself is, do you have a problem or do you have a project? Hi everyone, Chris NATZKE here with Black Belt Leadership Speaking and Coaching with your Mind of a Champion tip of the week. Do you have a problem or do you have a project? I think the first time I heard those words were from Super Coach Steve Chandler when I was sitting in one of his classes, and he asked that question directly. And what he was meaning by that is that many of us, when we look at our challenges in our lives as problems, we can get caught up in the drama of those problems. We can caught up in the fear that we extend outward if we're going to be able to deal with the situation. But if we look at it as a project, now all of a sudden we start to get into a mode of problem solving, and we begin to become curious, and resources that maybe we didn't even know were there start to appear because we're all excited about working on a project. So as you consider this point, what I'd like you to do is consider 4 other points as when I'm dealing with challenges that I ask myself, and I also help my clients with when you're dealing with those problems and how you can transition those into projects. Number 1 is simply stop, relax, breathe, and ask yourself, what's really happening here? What's really happening here? You know, many times when we have challenges come upon us, particularly if they surprise us, and this isn't to discount the fact that sometimes we're dealing with some really serious issues. But many times what we do is we get ourselves wrapped around the axle because we're just dealing with things that are more annoying than they are tragedy. So when that occurs is stop, relax, and ask yourself, what's really happening here? You had a conversation that hurt your feelings. You got a bill in the mail you weren't expecting. Whatever the case might be, that's what's really happening. And ask yourself that question and sift away all the drama and all the catastrophizing and all the projected fear out and just deal with what's really happening in that moment. Number two, ask yourself what wants to happen here. Now, what do I mean by this? This might seem a little esoteric, but many times when we have these challenges occur, the pain and the suffering that we deal with is because we're resisting what's occurring in our lives. Something happens and now it's taking us off course. Well, sometimes we need to stay strong and move forward in the direction we were, but other times we need to be a little more reflective and ask ourselves, what wants to happen here? Do we need to get to our desired goal in maybe a different path than we had originally thought? You know, one of my favorite statements that I heard during the course of the pandemic, one of my good friends said, we need to be stubborn in our goals, but flexible in our methods. Let me say that again, stubborn in our goals, but flexible in our methods. So what that means is as you have something you want to achieve, a goal, an intention that you want to experience in your life, and things maybe come upon you that knock you a little off center, it doesn't mean you give up on the goal. You might just need to be a little bit flexible in how you're going to get there. And you can do that by asking yourself, what wants to happen here? What direction am I being led to taking? Number 3 is ask yourself the simple question, what's the first right step? What's the first right step? You know, many times we get overwhelmed because we think in order to deal with a problem or a challenge is we need to have this complex plan and everything needs to be perfectly aligned. But many times what we're just called to do is take the first right step to get ourselves going. Start to build those momentum. That momentum that we need. It's just getting ourselves moving. You know, one of my teachers one time lovingly said is that God, you can use universe, you can use spirit, whatever you wish to, meets us at the point of action. So when we begin to take that action, then solutions to what we're dealing with oftentimes will just come present. Maybe things that we didn't even know were there, or many times things that were always there, but now we're looking at them in a different perspective. So what is the first right move? And then after that is just what's the next right move? Because when we get ourselves in action, what my experience is that the universe will begin to continue to provide us little answers that will pop up in our direction that we need to go. And then we build the momentum, and pretty soon we have moved from being in a problem to dealing with a project that we really get to lean into. So how does that look for you? Now, if you're listening to this video and you're saying, wow, I've got some problems, Chris, or I don't know how to get started, or man, it sure would be great if I had some sort of a guidance on how to make this work, I'd like you to check the link below on my upcoming program called the Breaking Through Coaching Program. And what I do in this program is I assemble a group of people that are looking to have breakthroughs in one element of their life. Could be something in finances, could be something in their career, their relationships, their health and wellness. And what we do is we come together for 6 weeks as a group, as well as individual coaching with me to help you set the stage to put together a plan of action so you can have the breakthrough you desire and turn those problems that you might be dealing with into projects. So if you're interested, I'd love to have you join us. Check out the link below. And as always, thanks so much for joining me. If you have questions, comments, concerns about the message, if you'd like to share it, please do. And once again, this has been Chris NATZKE with Black Belt Leadership Speaking and Coaching, and we'll see you next time on the Mind of a Champion Tip of the Week.